Just a couple days later, I made a rather embarrassing mistake. At least for me, it was embarrassing. Ciao a tutti! Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the funniest mistranslations that I've heard and also personally done myself between English and Italian. Before we begin, I just want to say that this video is by no means a jab at Italians or to make fun of them, but rather it's just a humorous, entertaining video. That's my intention. I also think it's important to be able to look at ourselves, laugh at ourselves, and move on, because honestly, these are the kind of mistakes that we remember and we don't repeat again. One hopes to not repeat them. Cominciamo. Okay, so for the first one, I have a story to tell you, and this takes place in Old World Sicily about 30 years ago. My wife's uncle was from Connecticut, where I'm from, and he went to the deli one day, and he made kind of a scene. So apparently he wanted some deli meats, and he wanted them without any preservatives. Well, unfortunately, he looked at the Italian word, or what he thought was the equivalent, and said, "I would like some meat with preservativi." Unfortunately, preservatives and preservativi is nothing alike. Preservatives in English is what we use to keep food fresh, so to speak. A preservativo in Italian is a condom. Sorry, small correction. Preservatives don't exactly keep the food fresh, it just extends the life of the food. I would have liked to have been there to see the reaction on people's faces when he said preservativi. I mean, this was Old World Sicily, small town, you get the picture. Anyway, moving along, our next example also pertains to an intimate part of the body, so to speak. Actually, all kidding aside, this next example does kind of relate to what's going on in the world right now with the virus. And the word is tampone. Now, if you look at the spelling, it looks very similar to tampon in English, but the meanings are different. In English, we would call it tampone a swab test. And there is some logic to it, because when you do a swab test, you are swabbing somebody's nose and you're trying to absorb liquids, much like the other one. So once one of my friends from Naples went to Los Angeles on vacation, and her English needed some fine-tuning, let's just put it to you that way. So unfortunately, she arrived at the hotel and she found out that she had forgotten to pack her tampons. So she went to the pharmacy and she wanted some tampons, but unfortunately she didn't know the exact word for it. She goes to the pharmacist and she says, "I need some." I would love to hear your feedback on this one. Had you been the pharmacist, would you have understood immediately what my friend wanted? I'm not sure I would have. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you think. All right, so moving along, let's talk about another slip-up that my friend from Naples had at her hotel in Los Angeles. So she goes to the hotel room and she discovers that there wasn't a hairdryer. So what does she do? She picks up her phone, she calls reception, and she says, "I need a phone." The receptionist said, "Ma'am, that's what you're using to talk to us with." If you're Italian, then you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but let me explain. So the word for hairdryer in Italian is actually a foreign word. They say Phon, spelled P-H-O-N. But unfortunately, as I've just said, it's got nothing to do with a telephone, P-H-O-N-E. But as a matter of fact, they do have a word for this in Italian, and they would say asciugacapelli. I gotta confess though, this does somewhat irritate me. All too often, I've seen Italians prefer a foreign word when they have the Italian equivalency that they could use. Although I get it, the Italians love foreign words, and there is a huge influx of foreign words in the Italian language. But honestly, and this is just my opinion, I don't always like it. As a matter of fact, I think that when you have too many foreign words in the Italian language, I think it somewhat dilutes your language. Is it worth it? This next one is something that I see frequently during my lessons, and it's understandable. So a question that I frequently ask my students is, "How was your weekend?" And let's say it's the summertime, so very often they'll say, "I went to the beach with all my parents." And I always say, that's quite an interesting family you got there. All of them? What they're trying to say is that they went to the beach with all their relatives. So let me explain why they make this mistake. If you look at the words parents and parenti, they look very much the same. However, parenti is relatives, whereas parents in Italian is genitori. If you translate that literally, it means the generators. And it makes sense actually. These are the people that generated you. Fortunately, I've never heard any students say that they went to the beach with their generators. Our next one takes place in Ireland. So a friend of mine, when he was a teenager, went to Ireland to do a 2-week study, and he stayed with an Irish family. So he wanted to ask the host family if he could have a shower. For clarification purposes, in English you could say have a shower or take a shower. I prefer have a shower. But unfortunately, my friend was thinking directly from Italian, and he said, can I make a shower? To the English ear, this means that you want to actually construct the shower. So the host family was a bit sarcastic, and they said, okay, I'll give you the hammer, I'll give you the nails and the wood, and you have fun. So let's continue my travels, and this next one takes place in Birmingham, England. So I was doing my master's there about 6 or 7 years ago, and I made a lot of friends there. One in particular was a guy from Sicily whose English was very good. Rightly so, you can't be a poor English speaker and go to an English university. However, on one occasion, I did catch him in a slip-up. So we were talking about barbers and haircuts, and the barbers near the university where we were studying were not the greatest. So he decided to resist and go to his barber back in Sicily when he went home for the holidays. So this was like a couple times a year. He was telling me, no, I am not going to these barbers here in England. I already went once and I had a very awful experience. I pretend a good haircut. I couldn't resist, so I wanted to take advantage of the situation. I looked at him and I said, you have nothing to pretend. That's a great haircut. Just to clarify though, pretendere in English means to demand, whereas pretend in Italian means fingere. So yeah, there's a bit of a difference. Make sure you drop me a like if you're enjoying today's video. Andiamo avanti. This next one is another mistake that I often see with my students, and it's quite frequent, I must say. So going back to the question that I frequently ask them, how was your weekend? What did you do? Very often they say, I stayed with my friends. Now for an English speaker, that just sounds kind of awkward, to be honest. I have a decent knowledge of Italian, so I always understood why they made this mistake, and let me explain why. I stayed with my friends is a direct translation from Italian, and they're probably thinking sono stato con gli amici. It's a bit misleading and confusing because if you look in the dictionary, you will see that stare does mean stay. However, it really just depends on the context. Looking at this from an English-speaking perspective, if somebody were to tell me that they stayed with their friends this past weekend, to me this gives me the idea that they had a choice. They could either stay with their friends, maybe go to somebody's house and stay there, or maybe go somewhere else. Although on more than one occasion, it has reminded me of the song Stand By Me. Because if you think about it, standing by somebody and staying with somebody, they're very similar. Or this could also be that somebody is posing for a picture and you want them to stay. Or hold still, I would say. Not so much stay, but you get the idea. So with that said, and with this use of stay in mind, whenever my students tell me I stay with my friends this past weekend, I try to make them understand exactly what they're saying. So I give them what I think is the Italian equivalency. It's like they're saying, sono rimasto fermo con gli amici, which translated loosely means I was motionless with my friends. Have you ever been the victim of false friends, of mistranslations? Let me know in the comments. This should be fun. This last one is a personal example of mine, and I have made other mistakes between both languages in the past. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but this one did come to mind. So this happened roughly 20 years ago when I was still a beginner with Italian. So I was out with some friends, Italian friends, and at one point one of them says, Devo andare a salutare la mia amica. I heard the word salutare, and to me it sounded like the word salute in English. So naive me thought that she was going to go up to her friend and say, hi. Of course, what she meant was that she was going to say hi to her friend. Unfortunately, this verb didn't sink in, and just a couple days later, I made a rather embarrassing mistake. At least for me, it was embarrassing. So I called up a friend. This was back before cell phones, by the way. I had to use a public payphone. I called up my friend, and he wasn't there. I got his father. So I said, okay, can you please tell him I said hi? Unfortunately, I translated literally from English. I said, gli può dire che ho detto ciao, which in Italian makes absolutely no sense. You would have to say, let's see, me lo può salutare? I do want to mention something in regards to the verb salutare. It does remind me of the word salutations in English, so there is somewhat of a connection linguistically. Also, to say this in Italian, they would say fare il saluto militare. If you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure you do that. Also, click the bell next to the subscription button so you'll be notified of when all my videos come out. As of lately, I've been making more linguistic style videos, so make sure you check them out in the cards above. I also make helpful and practical videos for anybody who is interested in coming here to Italy on vacation. I also have other helpful and practical things that I'm looking forward to making, namely if you want to live here or work here in Italy. If by any chance you're looking to improve your Italian, go to the description of this video and you will find 2 helpful books which I think you would really enjoy. Go check them out. Lastly, if you're interested in supporting the channel, go to the description of this video and you will find the link for Buy Me a Coffee. Anything that you would like to give, no matter how small, is greatly appreciated, so thank you. Grazie mille per l'attenzione, ci vediamo alla prossima. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Ciao!